Hello everyone, welcome to episode 26 of the MEE-FIT podcast. Today I'm joined by Charlotte, who has very kindly given up 30 or so minutes of her time to chat with me today on our podcast. So we'll dive in. How would you feel, Charlotte, if I asked you just to give everyone who's listening a bit of an introduction to yourself, just a little bit about yourself in terms of name, age, occupation, what you do health and fitness wise, just very basic, and then we'll dive into it all.
Cool. So I'm Charlotte, mum of three. I've been with Dan for over 3 years now. So there's another 2 to our gang as well. So to say 5 children, it's quite a big number. I am a wedding photographer and a bit of a fitness fanatic on the side.
Fitness fanatic. That's a good way to put it. Definitely. Cool. Thank you for that. So I just thought I'd made some notes. We're just going to kind of take this chronologically, let's say, in terms of your health and fitness journey over the years. So going right back, I presume it was like school age when you were first interested in fitness, or go on, just run me through like what's been your fitness journey over the years.
I suppose it started in primary school, really. Whatever club was available, I was in netball, hockey, football, cricket, rounders, absolutely loved it. Sports day, oh God, it was like my favourite day of the year. I loved it. And then it just transferred into secondary school then. The Hebrew had loads of options. Hockey, I just then really started to push with that. We went on a hockey tour in year 8 actually, and I won this award to just like, I just stood out. I think I was just so determined with it, and I just thought, actually, I'm quite good at this. So then I started going to Whitchurch, playing with the ladies, and then Whitchurch Hockey Club's just, it's booming now. It's just grown so much because I think just so many other girls started to just progress with the hockey, and we were the whole section at school, it just really grew from there. Like athletics I was doing on the side, and I started to get into like the 800 metres, like doing some of the athletics things that were held in the summer. We were going to Wrexham at the racetrack there. There was quite a few of us who go and do different events. Netball again was a big one, but hockey it did really progress, and I did get to county level as well, playing for Cheshire. And then Andy Mitchell, who was part of Whitchurch Hockey Club, some of us actually went for like some England trials as well, and I got to the second round, and obviously I just wasn't good enough to progress more, but to have that opportunity was just amazing. And then I did a gap year, which was really frowned upon actually. I did my GCSEs and did a gap year, and I just thought, I'll sign up for the Great North Run, it's something to do. I was working, and I was trying to save to actually go out to volunteer and do some work in Ghana, and I did the Great North Run, and then obviously just getting a bit of discipline with that, just starting to do running. I was cycling to the Cumbermere, just like a bit of cross training sort of thing for that. And then I just fell into like this kind of habit with running. And when I was pregnant with Florence, I actually did the Edinburgh Marathon. I met Vicky, who used to be at Bodytech, and she set up Physique. I was actually meant to do it with her, but sadly she got injured. But we were doing different events building up to that before she did get injured. I did the Liverpool half marathon, so the running just really progressed from there really. And then I just fell into this sort of trap of having a baby, run a marathon, and it just kind of went like that really. And then Vicky did have Physique, and I was taking the kids up there, so like doing spin, and we were doing boot camp and stuff, and she was really good with that. But then as the kids were getting older, I was just then starting to struggle. Just the fact that she was out of town, her location just wasn't working with the kids, and then with nursery and things like that. And then that's when MEE-FIT started like appearing on my social media, and just seeing Shannon like in her holiday pictures. I was like, I want to look like that, it was brilliant. And then Susie Gleave, she just signed up for the 6-week thing, and she's like, Charl, come to MEE-FIT. And I've never looked back. I've been here nearly 7 years, I think it is now. And the way I've looked at food and exercise has just completely changed, and I absolutely love it. And I think it's really reflecting on my children now as well, especially Florence. Like, I've never forced her to do anything, but she's so disciplined with the boxing gym across the road there. She absolutely loves it there 4 or 5 times a week.
Oh, nice.
She's better at time management than me, like she's there an hour early, she's getting all her wraps done, warming up, and I'm just really proud of how like it's reflecting on her, and the boys with their rugby and football as well, they love it. Nice. So that's kind of how it's progressed really. Brilliant.
I think we can call it there,
That's a good journey.
Excellent. Well, just a couple of little bits I'll pick up on, because obviously you're running. I've always known you as a runner, so it was, what age was it when you did the Great North Run, just to be clear? That was after you finished school?
Yeah.
Before
18,
you'd gone to college? Or had you done college?
Sorry, I don't know if I said that properly. So I did GCSEs, did A levels, and then just
before uni age. That was when you did it. Okay, cool.
God, it's that long ago.
Yeah.
I do enjoy running. It's my thinking time. Just put some good tunes on, even if it's just to order my day in my head. Like if I've took the kids to school and I'm like, right, when I get home, I need to do this, that, and the other. Reply to that inquiry. It's just that time where I can just zone out and not really have to worry about anything else at that time.
Nice. Nice. Because the thing, I was going to ask you about that, because obviously running, some people love it, some people aren't as keen. So I was interested to hear because you've always, I've always known you as such a great runner. When you first did the marathon, what time did you do that one in?
Oh gosh, I really set myself up for punishment, that one. Edinburgh. I'd done my first ever wedding at Iscoy Park, it was, as well, of all places. I've done that. And then I knew I was pregnant with Florence. I was about 9 weeks then. And then Craig, who I was with at the time, we took it in turns driving up to Edinburgh that night. And then I was up at the crack of dawn to run the marathon, but I did it in 3:53. Yeah. So it wasn't the time that I wanted, but when I reflect now, I wasn't mindful of like hydration and carb loading. Even then, I never ran with gels. It's only since I've been with Dan and we've like really started to understand how to prep yourself and how to fuel yourself. I didn't even run with anything. I didn't take any fuel on. So how I managed to do that, I do not know. But I think you have these experiences, and that's why you have them. You learn from them all the time. I'd never do that again.
No. But you learn, don't you? And I mean, 3:53 is still a great time.
Yeah, I'm still chuffed with
so many people aim for the 4 hour mark is such a a target for so many people, isn't it? So to knock that off in the first go is pretty
it
impressive.
Wasn't bad, but when I hit that wall, when you hit it, your body's just like, I need some water, I need some food. And I did walk for a little bit and I was really annoyed with myself, but then it was a really hot day. Like people were stopping at the side under umbrellas, so then it did get to a point like just survive this and complete it sort of thing.
Get through. Well, very, very impressive. So then after that, then you said you obviously had. How long ago was that then?
God, so Florence is 14 now, so some time ago now.
Yeah. So then over the next, like before you kind of came to MEE-FIT, it was probably 7 or so years in between. You had another 2 children that time, and you were obviously just running in that time between pregnancies.
Obviously, it's just the expense, I'm 3 kids then, just money and then time, as well. But what I love about MEE-FIT is like you book your sessions in, so you made that a priority. If you knew that you were coming at 9 o'clock, you weren't cancelling that. You made that part of your day, and that's what I loved, especially around the kids as well, knowing that you could do the school drop. Right, I'm getting stuck into the day, get my session done, and then get on with the rest of your day, really.
Nice. So what's to this point, what's the best marathon you've done?
3:15 that was.
Wow. And when was that one?
That was Brighton.
Okay.
Yes, so that was last year. So
that was last year, so PB recently.
Yeah, but that's again, educating yourself. And like when I did Edinburgh, I didn't even lift weights. It was literally I'd just go out and run. I wouldn't do anything else. So I think the combination of having the knowledge, having come here and just doing some weights and some cross training, it really does have quite an impact, I think, for sure.
Yeah, because I mean that was what I was going to ask you. Like what you mentioned, obviously Susie, and a bit of like not peer pressure, but some encouragement from other people. But what were you hoping to get out of that in terms of? So many people out there who run, like they just run, they don't do anything else. Like why did you think it was the right thing to go and do a different form of activity to support your running? What was your thoughts on that at the time?
I really don't know. I think you come to a point though as well with running, you are doing it on your own. I didn't really know anyone, and obviously things are become a fashion, I suppose. Like weightlifting is a bit of a fashion, but we're obviously starting to understand how good it is for you as well. I think just have a bit of a mix up really, like going to Vicky's physique like spin classes, that was really good, but I just wanted to know what the weight training was about really, and come in and meeting new people as well. Like the community is booming all the time in MEE-FIT, and just getting to know more people. My job's quite lonely really in the scheme of things. I'm always people watching, I'm editing, which is on my own. Running, generally you are on your own, so to just be part of a group of people doing something as well, it's really lovely.
Nice. And I think it's even more so now probably relevant for your current sort of sport of Hyrox, which we'll talk about. But obviously at the time it was just more so just running, wasn't
Yeah.
it, that you typically did? So when did you, just remind me, like when did you first venture into doing any form of other competitive fitness? Was it when we went down to NFG in Birmingham?
Yeah,
that was the first time?
Yeah, it was with anything like gym related.
Because obviously, up until that point, just to be clear for everyone listening, like you'd done obviously a lot of different running events, any other outside of sport at an earlier age, but for that, in your adult life, it was mainly just running.
Yeah, because hockey had to give, when we bought our house and everything, like we bought our house when I was 20.
Right.
So yeah, I had to kind of give that up because I was doing my my foundation degree for photography.
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately I had to let that go because I was working at the weekends because I was studying in the week really.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it went. Yeah.
And then obviously we decided, just, I don't even know why, but we decided to go and do an event, NFG it was called, wasn't it? National Fitness Games. Doesn't really exist anymore, but we went and did that in 2019, was it?
Yeah, it's definitely before COVID.
It was before COVID, because we were still in the old gym. And how did you find, obviously enjoyed that, I
absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Obviously you saw that competitive side with the girl touching the bar when we should have started, but yeah, I loved it, just being part of the group. Like we had such a great team, and just even just the fun stuff, going down in the car together, and just silly things, and Jess losing a nail when she picked up the barrel. It's like a beer barrel, I think it was, wasn't it? And just the giggles and everything. It was just really good. Well, it was that good. We did it a few years again, didn't we?
Yeah. We've had a good few goes over the years. And I think you probably went into it just as much as us in terms of like just the unknown. Like we'd never done it as a gym, or even me and Shan had never done that type of thing. We'd only recently ourselves got into any form of any real cardiovascular work. Like when you first joined MEE-FIT, me and Chan both just generally just did weights. We didn't do anything else, then started doing a little bit of more like higher intensity cardio bits, and then obviously I decided as a gym, let's go and do. How soon into that did you start to realise that actually, I don't know, have you known that you're a pretty good athlete? Like,
not really.
Or have
I
you
just
never
know,
really accepted that in your head?
Probably that, like especially like the weight aspect. I started to realise with the running, like, okay, I'm not up there with like the big people, but like actually, I'm not.
For an amateur athlete
bad.
who has work, family, it isn't your full-time job. I've always thought like, you're like the benchmark that we all, anyone who knows you's like, yeah, Charlotte's great. Do you know what I mean? Like, does great times in running, obviously strong, like such a well-rounded athlete. And obviously in Hyrox, that's clearly showing now with the level that you're now competing at. So when did you think that actually, okay, I'm, or like I said, have you never really
I've never
thought
really
about
accepted it until the first Hyrox.
Okay.
How it naturally happened. Like I was meant to do it with Vic. We were meant to do a doubles. Unfortunately, that all fell through. And then just the opportunity came up on Facebook that someone was selling a ticket for Birmingham. And I thought, I was going to do it anyway. Unfortunately, can't do it with Vic, so I'll go. And then I stood at the end, and Dan was like, "You've come second."
Yeah,
I was like,
insane.
"What?"
Absolutely insane.
And really, it would have been first place if again, experiences, and now every time I turn up to a race I always make sure that I've got a good hour to go round, find out where all the exits are and stuff like that, because I was running around the sled push, like I don't know where to come out, and I probably wasted a good 30 seconds because I literally ran the perimeter of it. So I think that was that bit of an acknowledgement then, like, oh right, okay, I've just qualified for the World Championship. So that was the first time, because I think the competition beforehand, that's when me and you went solo at NFG, and I think it's called NFG then, and
it still was NFG at that time,
I just had a complete meltdown just because there's a lot of CrossFit girls there, and there was a few gymnastics sort of things in there, wasn't there, and like the rope that you had to climb. And
I think looking back for both of us at that point, like I know we kind of just both decided we were going to give that a try, didn't we? There was a few things I know I didn't like, and same for you, the loneliness of it, obviously going into an environment whereby there was probably a lot of things on it that neither of us, but I'd say even more so yourself, hadn't really practiced that much before, and it was a good learning experience.
It was a good learning curve.
It drives your training, doesn't it? I think that's, for me, the reason you may be different, because obviously you've hit a level now with it that you're very, very competitive, but I know I'm not. For me, doing these events is just a reason to stay on track with my training. Like without that, I just feel like I can just like drift and not put the intensity in and stuff. But anyway, back to you. Cool. So just for context then, for anyone who is listening who doesn't know, maybe any members who don't know what Hyrox is, just give people a bit of an insight into the event of Hyrox, just for anyone who doesn't know what that is.
So it sounds utterly gross, really. So you start off with a kilometre-ish run. Overall, you're running 8 kilometres, and so obviously it just depends on the venue. So it always starts with a kilometre, and then it's alternated with a station. So it goes the ski, the sled push, the pull, a burpee broad jumps, a kilometre row, farmers carries, lunges, and then you finish on 100 wall balls. Obviously, just depending on what category you're in, it all varies the weights. Yeah. But yeah, somehow I just absolutely love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are incredible at it, which probably helps. But so just. What was that first time that you did it in? The first event
I think it was 110. That 110. Was the open category.
Yes. Yeah.
And then after that, so once I did that and knew that I qualified for Worlds, you know then that Worlds you have to do the women's pro weights, and it's the same for the men as well. So I thought, right, I'm gonna have to have the experience now of doing the pro weight.
Yeah.
So Birmingham was in that October, so I did Manchester in the January. And I came second again in that category, and I was second to Kate Davey, and Kate Davey is our UK number 1. She's absolutely amazing, and okay, I think I was about 8 minutes behind her, I think it was, but yeah, I just thought, okay, again, I must be all right at this. I've managed to go up a category and still come second.
Yeah, so insane, absolutely insane. For context, from our perspective, like when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, like that first event you did. The lady who finished third, I don't know her, but I know her husband, and they own a gym up north somewhere. I think they're into Scotland actually, and she's like been doing Hyrox for quite a while. Obviously, training is very much focused around that, and been doing it for a number of years. Goes to Europe and goes and does it in different places, and then you kind of rocked up on day one and came ahead, and I was like, oh my god, like it was like. We knew you were a great athlete and a great runner, but it was just amazing to see the time that you did on that first, and we were thinking, wow, like you could really give this a really good go and be right up there with it, because day one. For context, I did my first solo one in an hour 30, so you were 20 minutes ahead of me. Well, it's not bad, but 20 minutes is a long old time, isn't it? Which shows how good you are. Excellent. So you've been doing it then since then. So you at that point, I presume that was when your training kind of became more specific around Hyrox, and you've kind of like more so prioritised that type of training over the last couple of years then.
Yeah. So it sounds a bit crazy really, but I ended up getting a coach. So some years ago, I went on an Ant Middleton course, which me and Donna from here, she said, oh, come and do this. I'd recently just separated, and I was like, okay, go on, I'll do it. And I met a lady called Louise, and ever since then kept in touch on social media. Again, she's another fitness fanatic, and I noticed that she was tagging Dina Hogan quite a lot, so I was like, oh, look into Dina Hogan, and like Dina's like been in Elite 15 as well herself, and she just does a lot of online coaching, so I just thought she's obviously had experience, and her and her husband have done Ironmans, they've represented Ireland in various running events, so I thought they obviously know what they're doing. So I signed up to Dina, so I've been with her since, I did that Manchester event last January, and I signed up with her in the February, so she's made things a bit more specific to Hyrox. But then stupidly, me and Dan had booked Chester Marathon and Brighton as well, so we ended up doing 2 marathons as well. So she was like, this is not ideal, you're doing 2 extremes, but also the marathon I thought was pretty good as well, to be training for that. Like for Hyrox, you need that good engine, and in pre-season, if you want to call it that, so over the summer, I'm sure Dina will start like encouraging more longer runs. She already is, to just keep that engine going, to then work on that. Like I know some of, God, I feel like I'm a bit of a stalker now, but like watching some of these like really high-end Hyroxers now, that they could be banking 70, 80k a week, and then that they may not have family, or it could be that they're fortunate enough to be sponsored, and like it is their job, so they have got the time, but like that is quite a lot of mileage with everything else, so I don't know if I could fit that amount in, but
no, and that's the challenge that people are up against, aren't they, when you are like yourself, very, very good, obviously naturally a very good athlete, but also you put the time and the effort and the energy into it, so it's a complete credit to you, but you're competing against people who probably don't work, or who are, their livelihood is their sport, isn't it? Like elite CrossFit, elite Hyrox, like that. It becomes what they do, doesn't it? So you're in a tough battle when you're also trying to look after 3 kids. You're also trying to run a business and do everything else that you need to do. So I mean, we sort of encouraged you to kind of go and explore some more specific Hyrox options. Like we didn't, I think when we saw that, we're thinking, right, our training here is probably a little bit too random to be suitable for you. Do you know what I mean? That, like, yes, there's Hyrox stuff in it, there's wall balls, there's sled and stuff, but my perspective on it was like, you need a bit more of a specific program that's a bit more progressive, that's tailored to you, that is going to take you to the next level. Doing like more random stuff isn't probably going to cut it. Do you know what I mean? Like that was why we kind of said it's probably worth going and getting some. So over the last couple of years, you've been, I don't mind saying, you've been using MEE-FIT, but not really with our team as such. It's more just been the facilities to facilitate your training.
And like, I am really lucky, you know, like to have you guys having this gym, you know, that have literally got whatever Dina plans, you know, you've got everything, and to be able to come in and be able to use the sled push and stuff, like some people don't have that opportunity until race day. So you know, to have the amount of equipment available to train, and like you guys are always amazing, you know. If I say, oh god, I don't really understand what she means by this, you know, like I can approach any of you guys and say, oh, I think it's this, and like the other day I was doing RDLs, and like Claire was correcting me, you know, she said that my chin was too far out, you need to pretend like you've got a tennis ball under so you don't hurt your back. So it's amazing, and I'm really thankful, you know, that you're always kind of watching, just like, oh, just, you know, little tweaks, it'll help. So yeah, I'm really, really lucky in that respect. Because I've literally got no background. It's all just going by, obviously, what I've learned over the time that I've been with you guys, and then, just flying solo with doing the other stuff, really. Yeah,
nice. One thing I wanted to discuss with you around all this, so just actually, before we move on from like the Hyrox side of it, I mean, what's like upcoming, and what's any particular goals that you've got? Like what are you hoping to achieve over the next year or so within the sport of Hyrox?
If I'm honest, I don't know.
Okay. Just taking it as it is.
See how it goes. Okay. Worlds is less than a month away now. Okay. So I'm excited about that.
And where's that again?
Chicago. I know. So it's unfortunate we can't make a bit of a longer trip out of it. But we're going on the Wednesday and coming back on the Tuesday. So Dan's coming with me.
Oh, nice.
So it'd be a nice just little break anyway. Yeah. And then once that race is done, we might have a drink or something.
Oh, but please do.
So or deep pan pizza or something. But I am excited to just have that bit of a tail off, because I can feel everything starting to crank up a bit now, and which typically it will do, and then a bit of a deload, and then obviously into the race. I have booked some other stuff. I've got Oslo. Some of us in Dina's group are actually going out to Oslo. Nice. So hopefully, if I qualify for the next Worlds, that'd be really good. And I was fortunate enough to get a Birmingham ticket as well. So that's got about, I think it's about 6 weeks between, which is what Dina and Tom advised. So you're not racing all the time, and you're not going to improve times in the 6 weeks. So they reckon that sort of cycle, it's a healthy choice. But I don't know. I don't want to apply for the London Marathon again. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's obviously one, if I was able to qualify for Worlds, and two, where it'll be, because it's not the cheapest of sports to get into.
No. Especially when it's all self-funded, it's obviously really challenging. But you never know. I mean, God, if you get that good, then maybe that.
I don't know.
You never know, do you? Like, you never know. Like, I know. I mean, I see people on Instagram who have got sponsors and stuff who do way worse than you. So
well, you know what, there's one lady, an American, I can never say her surname, but her name's Amy, and she's 51, and she's in the elite 15, and she's got 5 children, married, and there's people like Megan Jacoby and Lauren Weeks who are absolutely amazing. But equally, I look up to that Amy and just think, gosh, you're still going, and you're still in the elite 15. So I think it just shows that if you're dedicated and ages, and it's just a number. It doesn't just mean that you can't do it just because she's 51, and I love that about it. It's brilliant.
Awesome. Well, just kind of changing topic a little bit, because I suppose you've over the years you've obviously done so well in lots of different fitness, running Hyrox now, but obviously, like we've already spoke about, you're doing that around a family, you're doing that around running a wedding photography business that you do. Like, how do you manage to fit everything in? Like, what's your approach when it comes to like time management, and how to ensure that you can still be the best mum you can be? And because obviously so many people struggle with that. They struggle with balancing time. We used a little snippet from you actually in one of the podcasts we did about lack of time, where you did that little recording for Callum and spoke about it, because we know it's such a barrier for people. So what's your kind of approach and thoughts on kind of managing time as a mum, working and also, looking after your fitness?
I think I've adapted as the kids have got older. Like a lot of the time I was here at 6 a.m, part of that crew, 6 a.m, get it done. And then you can be back at home for 7:15, and you're doing your packed lunches for the kids, make sure they're changed, getting them to school. Obviously moving house and moving out of the area and stuff. My window has become between 9ish till about 3ish. So I fit it in that time. Yeah. But also because, even before I moved over to Dina, and I touched on it before, because you have times for your sessions, you just make that part of your routine. If you're coming in at 9 o'clock, actually it's a bonus, it's banked in the morning. I've been to the gym, I've had a bit of me time, now I need to go and do the housework, I need to do some editing and things like that. Also, the kids are doing their clubs, I'll be catching up on emails, stuff like that, or making notes of like a conversation I've just had with somebody, or maybe doing a bit of editing in the car. And I know I'm not the only photographer who's doing that, some people can be at home and they've got something on in the background, and I think that's the beauty of my business. I can make it work for myself, or when the kids have gone to bed, I'm just doing a few hours editing and just winding down like that. I'm also very lucky that Dan is on the same wavelength, and we respect that we've got our own goals, which is really nice. He really likes the fact that I've got my thing and he's got his thing, and we're a bit of a tag team in that respect, especially on like a Sunday. Like Dougie and Stan, they've got rugby and football, so I always make sure that they've had their sports, and then at some point in the afternoon we're getting the Sunday roast ready. Dan may go on a run and then we'll swap over, and then I'll do a session or whatever. We've tried to adapt that we've got some equipment at home, so when I don't need things like the sled push and stuff like that, I'll try and save my running block or whatever it is. We've got some equipment at home that I can bank that here, but then I try and do like the weight specific stuff here in the week where I've got the access, and there's no mum guilt, like I'm at the gym, the kids are in school anyway, so I can't be doing anything for them. So I think having a partner who's on the same wavelength, it certainly does help. And Dan needs that escapism as much as I do, especially in wedding season. Like, he is amazing, he's got all 5 kids some weekends, every other weekend, where I've gone out to work and and he's got all the kids, and it's not easy. No. I can imagine. But I think that's a massive bonus, or like we'll help each other with bedtime so he can go on a run. So I think it's healthy that he's got that space as well. Yeah.
I think having that supportive partner, I think is obviously huge. So vital, isn't it? Me and Cham are the same. It's difficult, and if you've got someone who doesn't appreciate or value that time for themselves, it's going to be really difficult to allow, if that's the right word, your partner to go and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, completely.
And we know from people here that's something that they have to work around. Is like their partner's not into health and fitness and stuff, so it's like, oh, you're going to the gym again, or all that type of thing, which would be really difficult. What would your thoughts be or message be to anyone who sort of feels not that they don't have time, but maybe the selfish part of it, like you mentioned mum guilt. Like what's your perspective on that? If someone was to say, something we hear a lot is people, especially mums, will say like they feel selfish going and doing something for themselves, like a run or a gym session. Do you know what I mean? Like that they should be doing something for the kids, or they should be doing for the household. What was your kind of thoughts on that? Why is it so important to you to do the things that you need to do for yourself?
I completely get that, the selfish aspect. I've always tried to do things when I can't be doing anything for the kids. So when I was coming at 6 a.m, they're still asleep, so I can't do anything for them then. And it's a bonus that it's banked early. When they've gone to school, it's the same. You can't be doing anything for them then, so do that. And now, because like between 9 and 3, when I can't do anything for them, I'm doing that. So once I've done the school run, I'm present with them. And then I'm juggling, I'm spinning plates all the time. But I think it's just so important for me, especially even when I was training with you guys with your sessions, to be told what to do. I'm always asking people to do things, even in my job. I'm trying to organise people so that they enjoy their wedding day. I'm organising to make sure people are in, for the family photographs and things like that. And then at home, you're always organising the kids. You're providing, aren't you? Sorting meals out and things. And for someone to just say, right, today we're doing squats, and this is what you need to do. It's just so nice to just think, I'm going to do as I'm told today. It's hard being a grown-up.
It is hard.
And I think it's really healthy. If you've had that time to get some endorphins going. You've seen some people, had a nice conversation, you've helped somebody because, you know, they needed some help, like with their bench press, or I don't know, you get buzzes without even realising. And I just think if you feel good about yourself, it radiates to others, you know, and the moods that you're with your children as well. Like sometimes when I'm down, Stan especially will go, "What's up, mum?" You know, and they also see the good side, like, "Oh, you're happy today," and like, "Oh, I've had a really good gym session," and you know, and you can see it happens to them when they've played their rugby and they've had a really good time with their mates. And I just think it's really important and to keep healthy for the kids and to be around, you know, for like when they have kids. I want to be here for a long time, you know, and I want to be a good role model to the kids. I just think it's so important.
That's clear that you are with how they're now, you know, staying active. And I think it's so important, isn't it, to be that positive influence for the kids, that exercise and activity and looking after yourself is part of normal life. You know, that's, you know, especially for, I'd probably say even more so for like Flo, and because, you know, girls are, you know, more likely to deviate away from health and fitness, aren't they, as they get a little bit older and stuff. But she's staying
she
in
loves
that environment, isn't she, which is really good.
And she's so disciplined with it. Like, she's absolutely gutted this weekend. She was meant to have a fight, and the weights weren't just quite weighing up, and the girl had lost too much weight, and Flo's managed to lose weight, and it could have actually happened now, really, but she's so disappointed. Like, I've worked really hard, and I was like, I know, but there's not many girls who were 14, you know, and who were boxing and then in her weight category, and I was just like, you just keep at it, you know, just don't, it's just one fight, you know, and the fact that you've worked so hard, just keep that work ethic going and it will come. All these things happen for a reason, and I know at the time it hurts, but when you have the time to look back and something will come along and you'll be like, oh, I'm glad that did kind of happen then. So
presume you've had those times happen, disappointments along the journey in fitness.
But you know, even like reflecting now, so London last year for Hyrox, I just could not move that sled for love nor money, and I missed out on podium all because of that, because the sled took so long. It was such a hot day, my arms were slipping on the poles, and I was just getting so frustrated, and Dan was just like, get lower, and I was like, but I am lower, you know, but my arms just keep slipping. So now, you know, in fact, the sleds have changed. The style of those sleds have changed. So to have had that experience, it was disappointing, you know, but now before a race, I look really silly at the start line, but I always put chalk up my arms. And I'm really not bothered by the fact that I look silly, because I'm like, I'm ready, bring it on sort of thing. And to just get lower, I've changed my technique. But you know what, if I hadn't had that experience, I don't think that I would have nailed it at Worlds. And I can remember when Bob Wilson was there, he said, come on, Charles, let's just go and look at these sleds. It was when we just did the country walk-in. He's like, come over. And like, we were just there messing around with the sleds and just doing that actually, and having a familiar face as well when we were just messing around with the sleds. It was really good. And like now, every time I'm like, right, come on, anchor in, let's get it done. And I think even to now, I think that sled push at Worlds has been my best push. And I think I've done 8 races now. So yeah, but at the time, obviously it hurts. But I think you need it.
I wanted to ask you about that. Like, you're obviously someone who can put yourself in a pretty dark place when it comes to activity. Like, why do you think, like, I don't know, what's your thoughts on that? Because obviously some people have got that and some people haven't, have they? You know what I mean? Like, you see people, as soon as it gets hard, they just like give up. Whereas obviously you're someone who can really tolerate that pain, like of you know, when you're putting yourself in such a tiring, draining position, but obviously you can just dig deep. Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
What goes through your head when you're like,
it's usually anger about something.
Mid-race, it's absolutely killing. Your legs are screaming at you. I don't know. What do you think about? What goes on in your head?
Well, 1, you're not stopping. 2, it's only you who can get yourself out of this. So what are you going to do about it? Like, honestly, that example when I just said about the sled push, and I've got my boyfriend there looking at me, and I'm just like, this is really embarrassing right now. I just felt like a child, you know, when you just wanted to cry because you just can't do it yourself. And I was like, but only you can get yourself out of this. And it's just like, right, anchor in. It's embarrassing. The girls are starting to leave already, but you know, you know, towards the back end of the race, that's yours. Everyone's exerted themselves, and I know when I can get to the farmers' carries, the lunges, the wall balls, I know that's my strength now, and it's getting there. It's coming now. But I don't know. I just think only you can get yourself out of it. So you paid to be here, so sort it out.
It's just such an interesting mindset, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? Because like some people, I think the people who do the best at, though obviously of course they're the fittest and the strongest, but I think there's an element of it where it's like a mentality thing of just how deep you're willing to dig. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know I'm guilty sometimes. I'll just like give up and just be like, oh, I'm knackered. You know what I mean? Where you're clearly just like, no, like nothing's going to stop me from pushing myself to my absolute limits.
Like sometimes when Dina gives me some plan, like yesterday is quite a good example. There was this really gross workout. I'd seen one of the girls had done it about 48 minutes, and I just thought, right, you know, you've got about an hour until you got to do the school run. So I got here about 1:45, I think it was, warmed up on the bike for 10 minutes, got the sled and everything ready, got all the equipment I needed. I went, right, come on, you're not walking away, not completing it. So you've got an hour, do it. So sometimes I purposely do snooker myself like
that's
that
cool.
because I just think there's no way I'm putting on that app that you didn't complete a session. I think the moment I do that, I could see how I'll be like, oh, I'll finish it another day or something like that. It's like on Sunday as well. It was just an absolutely mental day. Dan was doing the Sandstone Trail and he had to go from Frodsham, and then they bus loaded everyone to Whitchurch to then run back to the car. And he'd forgotten his trainers, he'd left them in the car. So I was already coming to Whitchurch, so I grabbed him another pair of trail shoes. But then Dougie had to be in Priest football for 9:30. Flo had to be back at the Heber for 9:45 for D&V. Then Stan had to be in Whitchurch for 10 for the rugby presentation. And poor Lincoln and Iris must have been like, oh my God, you know, I'm just being pulled pillar to post. And I knew I had to do a 5k time trial and then Dougie stayed out with his friends, so back to Whitchurch again later on. We went and surprised Dan at the finish line in Frodsham. So we're going down the A49 quite a lot. And I was like, you still got to do this 5k. And then at about 8 o'clock at night, I was saying to Callum before, like, necked a load of water before I went, knowing that I shouldn't have done it. Warmed up for 2k, I was already getting a stitch. And then again, I was like, you're doing this 5k. So the first mile I did in 6:06, and I was like, oh, this stitch is coming back. And then my watch then went in my ear, just like, oh, your pace has dropped to 6:40. And I was like, well, there's no way I'm beating my time now. I was like, right, you're not walking away from this, you have got to do it. And then, I don't know, I just had to anchor in, but I could have happily have walked, but I knew that if I'd stopped that 5k, I'd have to go and redo it again. And I just thought, why, you're not repeating again, so just get it done.
I mean, and I think that is an example of what I'm talking about when I say like the mentality of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got that mentality where it's like, I'm getting this done. I mean, what did you get that workout done in?
It wasn't the best. It was 19:39, but then I was just... when I compared it to Whitchurch 10k, I think I did the first 5k in 19:15, I think it was, and that was my goal. But I was just like, but again, you know, experience that I hadn't drunk enough that day, I hadn't eaten enough that day.
I think with everything you had going on that day, you can excuse yourself 30 seconds or so.
But that's usually a typical day, you know, either Dan's done something like that, or I've equally gone and done something like that. So I think in some weird roundabout way, I think the adrenaline where we've done something stupid, we're like, right, you know, it's just got to be done, and the adrenaline rush gets you through.
That for me though is an example of like where, you know, we talk about this all the time, like people lack of time and stuff. Like, I've often seen on your MyZone belt, you're doing workouts at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Do you know, things like clearly it's just got a day of work done, kids are all sorted, you find, you know what I mean, and you fit it in, and that is an example to everyone as to what can be done when it's important to you and when you really value it, because, you know, you clearly just, you know, nothing stops you. And there's an accountability piece, I presume, with all that, in terms of, you know, that Dina's going to check, you know, that other people in your network are going to check. So
we still check.
We you know, we talk about that with people all the time, how important that is, and even for someone like yourself, that's still clearly an element as to what keeps you motivated and going, is the thought of someone being like, Charlotte, why didn't you do that workout? Or do you know what I mean? Like,
I love the routine of it, you know, when it drives me insane when the kids have school holidays, and I know they're ready for it, you know, like the last week they're absolutely shattered and that, but I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to cope? I've got no routine to the day, and it really throws me out. And I think the kids are quite like that as well, like they love the chill out time. But I think they like routine as well.
Yeah.
They know where they're at and things like that. Yeah, rest days stress me out.
Insane. Unbelievable. Linking back to that question I just asked you before about how you're just someone who's so able to dig deep and not give in and just get it done. Talk to us about your unbroken wall balls.
Oh, well, the very first race I did on the Open, I did 75 unbroken on that, but it doesn't really count because it wasn't pro weight. But it's really funny, when I went to Glasgow, it was just such an intense week, and we were going away for Dan's 40th that weekend as well. And I just said to myself somehow in my head, you're going to do sub 110 today, and you're going to do 100 wall balls unbroken. And then I bumped into Jess Petro, her name is. She's in Elite 15, and they'd raced the night before and she qualified, and I bumped into her on the train, and I was just absolutely buzzing, like speaking to her about all sorts. And because I've become a bit of a geek with Hyrox, I was like, I knew what I was talking about, and I was just buzzing. I texted Dan straight away, just like, oh my God, you won't believe who I bumped into, and just... nattering on. And then when I was warming up, I saw her again. She was like looking around and everything. I saw Lucy Proctor warming up, and I don't know, I just felt good. And then when I come into the wall balls, I know it is naturally a slower lap, the last K, because I always try and focus on getting my heart rate down. And I just kept going and going, and it's really funny because before Worlds, I can remember talking to Dina on the phone, and she went, oh, how are your wall balls? And I was like, at London, I did 33 unbroken before I had to drop the ball. And the silence on the phone, I was like, oh. She went, it's not very good, that, is it? So I said to myself at Worlds, I got to 55, and I texted her at the end saying, right, I did 55. And she's like, that's better.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was being told off by my mum in some respects, and I didn't want to disappoint her.
So it's a shame thing.
But it's always in my head, you know, and I was just... The wall balls just kept coming, but on that training block, I was just doing thrusters. I had to do sets of 20, 4 lots in between with Russian twists, and I was getting to like 30 kilos on the last one. And I was like, you know, you can just literally feel these so out of breath and you're shaking. I'm like, you're not stopping, you know. And I think they've really helped with the wall balls. And then I was like, right, we've set the precedents now, you know. So when I did London and when I did Glasgow, I went up on the train on my own. And knowing Dan was there as well, you know, it's just like, you can't look a dick now, you know. You've got to do it. You set the precedents. It's got to be done. And then it's Weisel, I think, the guy on the mic, isn't it, at the end?
The one with the moustache.
Yeah.
I don't know his name, but yeah.
But yeah, I heard Annabelle, and I think she was the girl who was the number 1 for the pro women that day. And he's like, she's on 90, 10 to go. You can't drop that ball now. And I was just thinking, right, well, if Annabelle and like she could have dropped the ball, I don't know. But in my head, I was like, right, well, she's done 90 wall balls. You ain't stopping me. Yeah. So I just kept going, and
Did you get a shout out?
I don't know, I was just more amazed. I was running over the line with my little yellow flag.
Yeah, but Dan, that's what you get given, is it? Right,
yeah, okay, cool. And Dan was like, how have you just done that? And,
insane.
But yeah, I think it's just, I swear, and I keep telling Callum these, like this, that it's those thrusters, getting used to that shake and like, oh my God, I can't breathe, you know, But yeah, I think it makes such a difference, because when you're doing, even if it's just like an empty bar, you know, it's only 6 kilos then a ball, isn't it? So
for context, for anyone who's not Hyrox, so this is the last station, 100 wall balls in the pro. On your own. Having done 8K of running, having done, you know, 1,000 metres on ski, 1,000 metres on sled push, sled pull, all those walking lunges, farmers carries, to then do 100 the burpees, don't forget the burpees, to do 100 wall balls unbroken with a 6 kilo is absolutely insane. I don't know if I could do 100 wall balls unbroken fresh. I think maybe I could, but I don't know. I'll have to give it a go one day.
And the other part of that is twice, because she's got 2 patches now.
Well, yeah, to do it twice is insane. So yes, massive. Anyway, I think that's probably enough of your time, Charlotte. Thank you very much for sitting down with us. One thing I always ask everyone, final question for you, and this is what I like to finish with. What would your message be to someone who is thinking about making a positive change to their health and fitness? Not necessarily here, just generally. Why do you feel it's important for people to look after their health and fitness and prioritise that time for themselves?
Like, without sounding cheesy, we're only here once, aren't we? You know, and from my own experiences, it makes me happy. Once I've done a workout, getting to the point of doing a workout, it can be hard, but it always makes me feel better. Even if you've gone out and had a nice walk with your dogs, you know, it's a starting point, isn't it? Or, you know, beasting yourself on a workout that you really didn't want to do, but you're just like, those hard workouts are some of the best ones. Or if you go on a run in the rain where like it's at you, the wind's at you, but there's just a buzz that you get from it, and you've just got to look after yourself, haven't you? And I think when you feel good, you radiate it and you attract it, and it's contagious, and it's really nice when you see things like that as well. And yeah, I don't think you realise sometimes the impact you can have on someone else's day because you feel nice, you've said something nice to somebody, and yeah.
Well, we're going to finish up there, Charlotte. Thank you very much for your time. For anyone who's listening, be sure to check out Charlotte's social media and also her wedding photography. Obviously not weddings happen at MEE-FIT, but she also does some very, very great pictures for us here at MEE-FIT, which we've always been really, really appreciative of. Always been some great stuff that we can share on our socials.
It's literally my favourite job. I love doing it and seeing everyone change, and as time's gone on with you guys, I love it. It is literally my favourite job to come and do.
Good, excellent, lovely. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode.
Cool, thank you.